gotten yourselves into a situation where you're saying, what the heck am I doing here? This is impossible. What was I thinking? Have I ever told you about the time I took on a half Ironman triathlon in the mountains? Now, triathlon goes swim, and then bike, and then run. Now, in this case, the bike was just 56 miles. So I get out to the race site the day before the race in order to go drive the course. We do this so you can see where the sharp turns are and where it's easier and where it's harder. And, you know, we try to do that in our own lives too, in a way, whenever we can, is get a little preview of what's up. So I get in my little rental car out by Lake Mead, and just outside of Las Vegas, and off I go. And the course goes like this, and then it goes like this, and then it goes like this, and my stomach is going like this. And by the time I get to the turnaround, I have come to the only logical conclusion. I can't do this! So I drive back to the shore of Lake Mead, and I call my coach to tell him my decision. Michael, have you looked at this course? This course is all mountains. I can't do this course. Dorothy, all of your training for the last 4 months has been to prepare you for this course. You've been doing lots of hill training. You are fine. Michael, the hills in Hanover County are not the mountains outside of Las Vegas. Dorothy, you cannot look at that mountain. You cannot look a mile ahead, even a quarter mile ahead. You have to be thinking about the next 100 yards and how you're going to manage that. Everything beyond that doesn't exist. Okay, Michael, I'll start. So comes race day the next day, and I come out of the swim and I go to look for my bike, and I'm always worried about finding my bike, but in reality it's not a problem because I'm one of the last people out of the water and there are only a few bikes left. So I get to my bike and I'm balancing around and I'm getting myself ready, and all of a sudden the whole bike rack collapses. Oh, now what am I going to do? Oh. So I get around and I get reorganized, pick the bike up, and I get myself going, and I get out on that road, and a little ways down I think, okay, I'm settled now. Now it's time to start getting some food. It all fell out. 56 miles, no food. Uh-oh. Okay, so I come up to the very first turn, and there's lots of volunteers there to help us out, and I come to a screeching halt. Does anybody have anything that I can eat? One person, I have a fiber bar. I'll take it. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Another person, I have a beer. Meet me at the finish line. So I start off, and I get in those mountains, and I'm doing my next 100 yards. And it's working. My next 100 yards, I'm still upright. Next 100 yards. And I get all the way out to that turnaround and back to the lake. But I'd forgotten one thing. The bike switchover was not by the lake. It was in a town. Lakeside, town. The last 5 miles were all uphill, progressively steeper as you went along. But by then, I was so into that next 100 yards, next 100 yards, next 100 yards, that I wasn't even seeing the steepness around that curve. Next 100 yards, even up and over that 10% grade that we hit just before we got into the town where the bike switchover was. And you know what? I finished that race. So when you look at your next mountainous seeming goal, what's your first 100 yards and your next 100 yards?